Okay, if you missed Wednesday, October the 21st, you missed a very important day. The notes that we're going to be doing today are going to be a 4A grade. It's a participation grade, but 100% it is going to be 4A grade. You need to have that finished in. So all you're doing is you are doing a study guide. So you'll see the star there. That means it's 4th grade, and then it would open up in these. So let's get to it. So first thing about the test, you need to know salutary neglect. Basically, the King of England left the colonies alone to govern themselves, and of course, they developed a strong sense of self-government. Over 150 years, he did this. He let them alone, and they were, doing their own thing, solving their own problems. But then in comes the French and Indian War, and that kind of ruined things. You need to remember that it was over the Ohio River Valley, but the biggest thing is that it left England with a huge debt that forced them to tax the colonies and issued the Proclamation of 1763, which basically angered them because it hindered their westward movement. And then we had the Stamp Act, Sugar Act, Townshend Act. Those were all designed to pay for the French and Indian War. But of course, the colonists, they're upset. Very important words here: taxation without representation or consent. Huge keywords that you need to look for on any test that's ever given to you in U.S. history. Very, very important thing. And of course, this divided those acts. They divided the colonies against England. They're starting to think to themselves like, hey, if they're not going to give us any representation, then they shouldn't be our government. And that's a big deal. And then you had the Boston Massacre, where 5 were killed, 10 were injured. Christmas Act is the first one. Don't forget that John Adams, who was the second president of the United States, but before that, he was the lawyer, that defended the British troops that were involved in the Boston Massacre. And he did that because it was the right thing to do. So he definitely had some good personality traits. Don't forget the protest, violent ones: tar and feathering, burning paper, burning down houses, pouring hot tea down down the tax collectors' throats. Very important things. And then the nonviolent protest, the boycotting. The boycott was the most effective one. That's how they got rid of all the acts except for the tax on tea, because the boycotting had worked and England's economy was hurt because of that. And then you had the Boston Tea Party. That's where the Sons of Liberty in Boston, they dumped about $1 million worth of tea into the harbor. And of course, they were protesting the Tea Act because it's the Tea Party. That just makes sense. And so England decided to punish the colonists by doing the intolerable acts. You need to know the intolerable act. Number 1 was punishment for the Boston Tea Party. Number 2, you need to know the 4 things that we discussed in class about the Boston Tea Party: that they closed the Boston Harbor down, that they had town hall meetings once a year from some foreigner telling them how to live their lives, officers who got in trouble in the colonies, their trials are now in England. So basically that means that they got off the hook. And then number 4, there were more soldiers in the colonies. And you got to know this. I put it in big words here, and you'll see in the notes here in a second what you're required to write here. But it united the colonies against England. And so these guys are ready to start making major decisions about England. And then you have Common Sense, where Thomas Paine, he was a recent immigrant, and he told people, hey, it's common sense that we need to completely and totally break away from England and start our own country, because they are abusing our rights. They are taxing us without representation. They're closing the Boston Harbor. They're doing awful things. We need to completely break away from these guys, and we need to declare independence immediately. And all these things that we talked about for the last 2 or 3 weeks are causes of the American Revolution, which we will try and look into get into next week. So if you needed to get the notes here, you can get the first 2 boxes here. I'll go ahead and move my picture out of the way so you can see the whole thing. So just pause it. You might need to go full screen because the words are a little smaller. And then here's the next 2. You can pause there again if you need to go full screen. And then the last 2 are down there. Make sure you get that turned in. And be ready for the test tomorrow. I hope to see y'all tomorrow. Be ready for that test and just go with your gut. You guys know this stuff. You guys are prepared for this test. You guys got it. We'll see you.